I don't really tell this story to people anymore. Not because I'm over it or anything, it's just hard to explain without sounding like I'm making it up. This all started in June of 2012. I was 11 years old. We had just moved into this old two-story house in upstate New York, not too far from Schroon Lake. It wasn't remote exactly, but there weren't many houses nearby, and the woods behind our backyard felt endless. The weird thing is I didn't even feel scared when we first moved in. I actually liked it. The house was creaky and big and felt like a place where secrets could live. At that age, I liked the idea of secrets. But then the knocking started. I'm not talking about normal house settling sounds. These were real knocks. Always 3. Always on the wall, across from my bed. The first time it happened, I was already half asleep, so I thought maybe I imagined it. I didn't say anything to my parents, but it kept happening. Not every night, maybe once or twice a week, and always exactly at 2:41 a.m. Why that time? I still don't know. I didn't check the clock the first few times, but one night, when the knocks woke me up, I grabbed my iPod Touch and checked 2:41. Next time, same thing. After that, I started staying up on purpose, just to see if it would happen again. It did. 3 knocks, evenly spaced, like someone tapping their knuckles against the wall with weird patience. I told my dad. He checked the wall in the attic, found nothing. Old houses make noise, he said. But this wasn't noise. This was deliberate. Around this time, I also started waking up in weird positions. Sometimes I'd find myself curled up at the foot of my bed, or sideways with my legs hanging off. Once, I woke up, and both my feet were completely black with dirt. Thing is, my room had carpet. I started sleeping with socks on after that. A few months later, I had the first dream, and I call it a dream because that's the only way I can explain it. But it didn't feel like a dream. It was like my brain had unplugged from my body, and I was floating just below the ceiling, looking down at myself in bed. That part sounds similar to other stories you might have heard, but this one had a detail that made it different. In the dream, I always saw a figure standing in the corner of my room. He never moved, never spoke, but his arms were wrong. He had no elbows, just long, smooth arms that hung too low, like the bones were missing or melted. His head was always tilted a little, like he was trying to understand what I was. I had this same dream about a dozen times between late 2012 and early 2014. It's probably worth mentioning that during this same stretch of time, I started having these blackouts. Not full blackouts like fainting, but I'd zone out in school and not remember full lessons. Once, I woke up in the hallway with no idea how I'd gotten there. My grades dropped, my parents were called, I got tested for ADHD and some other stuff. Nothing came back. Around early 2014, I told my older sister about the dreams. She laughed at first, but when I told her about the no elbow part, she got really quiet. She told me not to joke about that. I didn't understand why. Later that week, she slipped a piece of notebook paper under my door. It was a drawing crude, but clear. A stick figure with long, bentless arms and a tilted head. In her handwriting, it said, "I used to see him too. I never brought it up again." By 2015, I was 13. The dreams started fading, maybe once every few months. Sometimes not for half a year. It felt like whatever it was had moved on. Then came the night of the 9th of November. I remember the date because it was the night after my birthday, and my grandparents had just left that morning. It was cold, and the house was extra quiet. I was playing on my laptop when the power flickered off. Everything went black. I waited. Nothing came back on. That's when I noticed. It was 2:40 a.m. I hadn't thought about that time in a while. But something in my chest pulled tight, like a rubber band. And right at 2:41, the 3 knocks came. Not from the wall this time. From the ceiling. 3 knocks. slow and clear, like someone was walking on the attic floor directly above me. I didn't move. I didn't breathe. I just stared straight up. Then I heard a fourth knock. This one was different. It sounded like a hand-slapping sheetrock, like someone had fallen. I screamed for my dad. He came running, and the lights flickered back on just as he opened the door. We checked the attic together. Nothing. But there was a dusty handprint on the inside of the attic door, too large to be mine. My dad said it was probably from one of the movers, but we'd lived there for 3 years. That attic had been sealed until then. After that, I started sleeping in the guest room downstairs. My parents didn't argue. A couple weeks later, I asked my sister again about that drawing she made. She denied ever giving it to me, said I must have imagined it. I still have it. I kept it in a shoebox with a few other weird things I collected over the years. My socks from the Dirtfoot night, one of the alarm clocks that stopped working after a dream, and a photo I took of the corner where the no-elbow man stood. The photo didn't show anything, of course, but I keep it anyway. I sometimes wonder if he's still there, if he moved on to someone else, or if he only came because of something specific about the house. Here's something I haven't told anyone yet. Last year, I was helping my cousin look for a house in the same area. We were browsing Zillow listings when I saw I Tour Old House, up for sale again. There was a review in the comments. Some woman complaining about scratching in the attic and how her youngest had started walking in his sleep and talking about a man with broken arms. I didn't say anything to my cousin. What was I supposed to say? There's a part of me that still thinks maybe I imagined it all. Maybe my brain just got stuck on some creepy dream and my body made it real. Maybe I was just a lonely kid with a good imagination and a bad sense of time. But then I think about that drawing, and the handprint, and the fact that I was never the first person to describe him. People think scary stories are about monsters, or ghosts, or demons. But what if the scariest stories are the ones that don't end? What if they just move? I saw her face in the dryer, not like a reflection. I mean her actual face, inside the machine, pressed up against the glass door like she was trying to push through. Her mouth wasn't moving, but her eyes were wild, darting around like she was trapped underwater. Her hair floated unnaturally, like it didn't belong in air or water or anything on this planet. I was frozen, just standing there in the dark laundry room, the humming of the dryer slowly fading out. My chest was tight. And then she blinked. I don't remember anything after that. Just waking up on the floor, hours later, with the dryer door wide open and my clothes spilled across the tile. That was the 19th of October, 2023. I know how that sounds. I wouldn't believe it either, but it happened. And if that was the only weird thing that ever happened to me, I'd have written it off as a bad dream or maybe sleepwalking. But it wasn't the last. It wasn't even the start, really. We moved into my aunt's old house in Greenfield after she passed away last summer. It's not far from Indianapolis. My mom didn't want to, but it was free, and we couldn't afford rent anymore after my dad left. The house wasn't huge, but it had a weird layout. Laundry room right off the kitchen. No window in it. Just a bare bulb in the ceiling and the washer. Dryer against the far wall. For some reason, I hated being in there even before the face thing. Anyway, the night that happened, my mom and I had just gotten back from Walmart. I put my new hoodie in the wash right away because it had that weird factory chemical smell. I was waiting for it to finish drying so I could wear it the next day. That's what led me to the laundry room at almost 1 a.m. I remember I didn't have any music or videos playing that night, which is rare for me. Normally, I fall asleep to noise. It's the only way I can dream without it turning into a nightmare. That night was silent. The next morning, I told my mom about the dryer thing. I said it casually, like it was a joke, but she gave me this stiff look. "You didn't go in the crawl space, did you?" she asked. I didn't even know we had a crawl space. Apparently, there's a small square panel under the dryer that leads to this weird maintenance area. Nobody had used it in years. She told me Aunt Jenna had some paranoia about critters getting in through there and used to leave a barbell against the panel. We checked it. The barbell was gone. Weird, yeah. But that's all it was. Just weird. A couple weeks passed. Nothing happened. Then one night in November, I had this dream that didn't feel like a dream. I was back in the laundry room, but something was off. The walls were narrower. The ceiling was lower, like the whole room was shrinking around me. I heard a knocking from inside the dryer. Soft at first, then faster. Then something started crawling out of it slowly, like its bones didn't work right. It didn't even have a full face, just this half mask of a woman's head with wet hair and no jaw. It dragged itself across the tile with these cracking joints and pulled its body under the washing machine like it was going home. I woke up sweating. No sound. Just that image burned into my head. I didn't check the laundry room. I couldn't. The next real-world thing happened the week before Christmas, the 17th of December. My mom was wrapping presents upstairs, and I went to grab a drink from the fridge. As I walked past the laundry room, I heard the dryer running. That was odd. I hadn't put anything in. I opened the door. The dryer wasn't on, but the light inside was flickering. That's when I saw something written in the lint dust on the inside of the glass. Just one word. Under. I stared at it for a full minute before backing out and closing the door. I didn't even tell my mom this time. What was I supposed to say? On New Year's Eve, my mom had a few friends over. They were drinking and playing old CDs, and I was just chilling in my room, trying to fall asleep to a Storm Sounds YouTube video. Sometime after 2 a.m., I woke up again. No storm sounds. My phone had died. But I could hear something faint at first. A mechanical humming. It was the dryer again. Only this time, there were thumps. Heavy ones. Like something big was rolling around inside it. My brain told me to stay in bed. Don't check. Nothing good comes from checking. But something else took over. I crept into the hallway. The door to the laundry room was already open this time. The dryer light was blinking again like a strobe. And for half a second, I swear I saw a leg sticking out of the machine. It twitched and then disappeared inside again. I ran. Didn't look back. Didn't sleep. The final thing happened in February 2024. It was a normal Wednesday. I had school. I came home. Nothing weird. I even forgot about the dryer for a while. Around 6:30 p.m., my mom left to pick up groceries. Said she'd be gone an hour. I decided to finally do my laundry because my gym stuff smelled like death. I threw my clothes in the washer and went back to my room. At exactly 7:02, the house went dark. Not the neighborhood, just our house. Power outage, maybe. But the weird part was, the laundry room still had power. The only room. I know that sounds fake, but it's true. I could see the light glowing from the hallway. It was green. Like a gross hospital green. I walked over slowly. That's when I heard it. A voice. Inside the dryer. I couldn't make out the words, but it was female. Raspy. Strained. Like she was whispering a prayer in a different language. The whole machine was shaking violently, even though it wasn't plugged in. I turned and ran for the door, but it was locked from the inside. That was the worst moment. I'd never locked the door. I don't even know how you could lock it from the inside. I kicked it, slammed into it with my shoulder. Eventually it gave. I fell through and landed hard on the tile. Behind me, the light in the laundry room went out. When my mom got home, I told her everything. I left nothing out this time. She didn't call me crazy. She just got really quiet. Then she told me something I didn't expect to hear. Aunt Jenna used to talk to someone in that room, she said. Like she was having conversations with somebody behind the dryer. We thought it was the meds. I asked her why. She never told me. She just said, because I didn't want to believe it either. We moved out the next month. Back in with my grandma on her farm outside Lafayette. Smaller but peaceful. I haven't had any dreams since. But sometimes, I still hear it in my sleep. A mechanical humming. A woman's voice, whispering from inside something that shouldn't have anyone in it. I'm not the kind of person who usually shares stories like this, but I haven't been sleeping right since it happened, and I feel like writing it down might help. This took place on Friday night, the 9th of February, 2024, in Flagstaff, Arizona. It was supposed to be a chill weekend. My friend Corey had gone home for the weekend, so I had the dorm to myself. I'm a freshman at NAU, and since I'm not really the party type, my plan was to binge some old episodes of X-Files, eat garbage food, and pass out with my headphones in. That was the plan, anyway. I started the night pretty normal. Ate some leftover pizza. Put on a YouTube playlist of scary stories to fall asleep to. That's kind of my thing. I can't sleep without noise, and scary stuff oddly helps me relax. I know that's weird. I think I passed out sometime around 1:30 a.m. The dream that followed didn't feel like a normal dream. It started with a sound of high-pitched scratching. Not nails on a chalkboard, but more like claws tapping on metal. Over and over again. It was coming from the air vent above my desk. In the dream, I sat up in bed and looked toward the vent. It was shaking slightly, like something was crawling inside it. At first, I didn't panic. I figured it was a dream, but something about it felt too real. I could feel the cold air coming from it. I could even see the little strands of dust swaying in the airflow. Then something whispered my name. Twice. Evan. Evan. The voice was soft and slow, like it was learning how to say it. It came from inside the vent. I just stared at it, frozen. The whisper stopped, but then I saw fingers long, pale fingers skirling through the slats of the vent like they were feeling for something. I couldn't move. My legs were stuck. My chest was heavy, but I could hear the vent's metal creaking as if something was pushing out of it. The fingers gripped the edges and began to pull. That's when I woke up, or I thought I did. I sat up in bed and yanked my headphones off. My laptop screen had gone black, but I could still hear the story playing. Everything looked normal. Desk, closet, mini fridge. My room was dark, but nothing out of place, except for the fact that I could still hear the scratching. It was faint, but it was exactly the same sound from the dream, and it was still coming from the vent above my desk. I told myself it was just leftover noise from the headphones or maybe a squirrel on the roof, but as soon as I looked up, I saw that the vent cover was slightly popped open, just a corner of it, like it had been pulled forward from the inside. I stared at it for a good 30 seconds before getting up to turn on the light. But when I flipped the switch, nothing happened. Light stayed off. The hallway outside the room was pitch black too. Now, this is where I should have just grabbed my phone and gone to the RA, but I was trying to convince myself I wasn't scared. So I grabbed the flashlight app on my phone and aimed it at the vent. And that's when I saw it. A face. Not like a full face, just eyes and a mouth, wide and stretched too far across. Like someone was wearing a mask that didn't quite fit. It pulled back into the darkness as soon as the light hit it, like it had been caught. I dropped my phone and ran out of the room barefoot, heart pounding. I didn't stop until I was outside, standing in the freezing February air in just a t-shirt and boxers. That should have been the end of it. Just a nightmare bleeding into waking life, right? But the weirdest part is what happened when I checked my phone the next morning. I had 3 voice recordings saved in my memo app. I don't even remember opening the app, let alone hitting record. They were all around 1 minute long and recorded between 2:03 and 2:08 a.m. The first one was just silence, except for some faint scratching. The second one had whispering. I couldn't make out the words at first, but when I turned the volume all the way up, I could hear someone saying over and over, "You're not alone, not alone, not alone." The third one was just one word, Evan. My name, clear as day, same voice from the vent. I didn't sleep in that room for the next 2 nights. I crashed on my friend Mark's floor in a different dorm. I told him the basics, just that I had a creepy dream and thought someone was trying to mess with me. He laughed at first, but when I showed him the recordings, he got quiet. He even sent them to his cousin who messes with audio editing. The cousin said the voice didn't match mine or anyone else in the room. It had weird background noise, like a metallic hum couldn't identify. I eventually had to go back to my room. I didn't have a choice, but I blocked the vent with a thick hoodie and left music playing 24/7. About a week later, I got an email from maintenance. They were checking the heating ducts in my wing due to some airflow issues. When the guy showed up, I asked if he could take a look at my vent too, just to make sure nothing was up there. He agreed, pulled out his little ladder, and removed the cover. What he found inside still makes my stomach twist. There was a tiny pile of fingernail clippings and a few strands of long, black hair caught in the corners of the vent. Human hair. He said it was probably just someone playing a prank, and that students sometimes do weird stuff during hazing. But no one on my floor is in a frat, and nobody has access to those vents without tools. I asked him how far the duct went. He said that particular vent connects to the crawl space between the ceiling and roof line, but there's no access unless you go through maintenance. I asked if it was ever open or unlocked. He said no. I tried to put it behind me. I deleted the recordings. I unblocked the vent. Weeks passed, and nothing else happened. Until this past Thursday. I was FaceTiming with Corey. We were joking around, just catching up. I had my phone propped up on my desk, pointing toward my bed. We talked for maybe 30 minutes before saying goodnight. About 10 minutes later, he texted me, "Yo, who was that behind you?" I thought he was messing with me. I replied, "What?" He sent back a screen recording from our FaceTime call. At exactly the 18-minute mark, you can see a hand reach down from the top of the screen behind Mirite over the vent. It was pale, long fingers, just barely visible. It moved slowly, like it was testing gravity. I watched it 5 times. I didn't sleep that night. I haven't told campus security. I don't think they'd believe me. There's no real proof. No break-in, no damage. Just weird stuff that doesn't make sense. But something is in that vent. I don't know if it's a person or something else, or if maybe I'm just finally losing my mind. But I moved out of that dorm yesterday. I told my RA I was transferring schools. That was a lie. I just wanted a different room in a different building. I didn't care where. They gave me one on the 3rd floor in a newer building. No vent above my bed. Still, every night, I keep thinking I'll hear it again. That soft scratching sound, that whisper, that thing learning how to say my name.